Welcome to Exposition. On this episode, we have Addison Coldren, who is multi-talented photographer.
Addison.
What did I say?
Allison.
I said Allison? I said Addison. Anyway, she's here with her art, jewelry, photography, and other stuff, so stay tuned. Glad you could stay tuned, and to our viewers in Cincinnati and Youngstown, welcome.
Yay!
So let's first talk about the artisan shop, and it's been relocated because the old building is being renovated.
Yes, it is. The old Lafayette Square building is being renovated from top to bottom, and it's going to be wonderful. And new businesses in there, and
But you're not going back. You've got a new place.
We can't go back, but we are so grateful for the time we were there, and I won't start crying, but so grateful to the Lanes for letting us live there for the last 3-4 years.
And now you're on the streets.
Now we're on the streets. No, we did find a new location, and it's 749 3rd Avenue, and it's near Pine Street in downtown Gallipolis. So we're still downtown, but we're not like by the park like we were
Right.
before.
If you're coming in on Pine Street, come past the cemetery, you go up to 3rd Avenue, make a right, and you're there.
Right there, yes. And we'll have signs so you won't be able to miss it. But we're excited about the new location, and should be up and running the second week in May, if we're allowed to say dates and times. So.
Okay, so let's introduce our guest, Addison Coldren.
Addison.
Hi.
And we call her Addie, right? Because that's she's a wonderful person, and we've known her for a few years, and we can't wait to hear all about your wonderful artwork and creations and the new projects and all that other stuff that's going on. Yay!
So how did you get started in art?
Like most children, I started doing art, and then I just kind of never stopped. I started taking art more seriously in high school, where I started photography and painting and whatnot. And from there I decided to go on to college and study studio art. I went to Wittenberg, it's in Springfield, Ohio. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there.
What kind of painting? Is it oil or acrylic or all the above?
I've taken oil painting classes at college, but I've done acrylic as well.
Or water?
Haven't done much watercolor, but mostly oil painting.
We know a person who does watercolors. It's amazing. I couldn't ever master that because, I don't know.
It's fun to play with, but it's scary.
It's kind of once you've got it down there, it's done. I like oil because you can mix it up a little bit.
Yes.
And you can make it chunky. That's what I like to do.
Yes, yes. Like the watercolors, you're talking about Courtney.
Right,
yes,
right.
Courtney.
She's pretty amazing.
She's amazing. Just like you, it's so many different art mediums. So we can't wait to see what.
So what do you like
making.
taking pictures of as a photographer?
Well, when I started photography, I was taking pictures of most everything. I did a lot of photography for the school newspaper at River Valley, and when I went to college, my mom got me a piece of equipment for my camera, and it's an extender tube. It's kind of like a macro lens, but you can't get as detailed shots, or it's a bit more restrictive. So once I was able to take macro photos, I went out and I found things in nature, like bees and beetles and spiders, just things that were accessible but kind of interesting that people don't really look at all too closely.
Yeah, because some of them look pretty creepy, but you make them look beautiful.
Thanks.
You do. Yeah.
Well, there's beauty in everything,
Well,
you know.
yeah.
Whether it's a bug, a snake, or
subjective.
whatever,
Such
you know,
things.
leaves and
Maybe.
nature.
Sort of.
Okay. All right, so you've got photography. What got you started into jewelry?
Well,
Or was it jewelry, or was it casting?
Well, I started taking jewelry just because it was a class that was offered. As an art major, you're encouraged to take lots of classes. Oops. You're encouraged to take not just what you plan on focusing on. I went in thinking I would major in photography, but I think it was my sophomore year I took a silver jewelry class, and from there I just kind of fell in love with it. Melting silver is really fun and it's really pretty, and so after that I took, I think, 3 or 4 more jewelry classes, and that's what made me decide to major in it and focus in it.
So do you like silver, I guess, over other things?
Silver is...
Or is it 'cause it's cheaper than gold, or what?
Oh yeah, yeah. I am still quite a ways away from being comfortable enough to work with gold. It has a lot lower of a melting point, so it's a little tricky. And I like the look of silver, so I'm pretty comfortable there. And copper, it has a rather high melting point, and we didn't have like the casting equipment to be able to do that sort of thing, so it was mostly silver.
Okay. Where do you get silver to use?
Well, I mainly order online, but a lot of people reclaim like spoons and stuff that they find. Yeah, at thrift stores and whatnot. If you know what to look for, you can find a good amount. But
Wow. That's
So you'd probably have to like separate. If it was like a spoon, there's probably, it's not solid silver, is it?
some of the old ones are. Anything that has a .925 is sterling silver. So if you find anything that has that stamped on it,
Okay.
it means it's sterling.
So you don't have
unless
to
it's
separate it at that point?
No,
Okay.
not if you find something that's solid.
Wow, that's neat. I know we can't zoom in, but Addie is wearing one of her beautiful pieces of...
Oh, there's a nectar. There's a picture of it.
and we're going to get a picture of it.
Okay. So let's start with the I think was the photography.
Oh, yes.
What kind of spider is that? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was a black widow type or not.
Oh, no, it's not a black widow.
It's a little bit bigger
I have
than
yet
that.
to find one of those out in the wild. I probably should
And
have.
you want to see them before they see you?
Definitely, yeah.
Is that honeybee?
Yeah, I think so. I probably should have taken entomology classes while I was at school, but they were all like higher level than I was
Right.
wanting
Probably had
to
some
go.
prerequisites.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that one's neat because of
amazing.
the wings that made the streaks.
Wow.
The thing about using a tube, like an extender tube instead of an actual macro lens, is you can't adjust the aperture of the camera. You can only adjust the shutter speed. So you kind of have to.
Is it always open all the way, and so you have a
Yeah,
really
yeah, because
shallow
it's-
depth of field?
Yeah, because the tube I have, at least, it's not like connected to the lens. It sits in between the lens and the camera, and so that you can't adjust anything in the lens and you can only adjust the shutter speed. So yeah, that's why a lot of these have a very shallow depth of field. It's just the equipment that was used.
Okay. Guess a wasp on a marigold. Who's this guy?
Is that a stink bug?
No, he's not a stink bug. He's like a long yellowish beetle.
Ooh.
And that's goldenrod he's sitting on, so that's how small.
I love the way that's beautiful. Here's your little bee.
Are insects hard to find?
At
Or
first,
interesting ones that are big enough?
yeah. Yeah, some of them are hard to find. Praying mantises I have trouble finding because they basically blend in. That's what they do.
They sure do.
Yeah, they're a little seasonal, I think.
Yeah.
More towards the fall.
Wow, those are beautiful, and I love the shutter thing. It's just-
You mean the shallow
these
depth
guys,
of field?
you guys are the photographers, and I just don't have the terminology, but I love that the way the wings were in that
Oh,
one
yeah.
picture. That's beautiful.
So what do we have up next?
I think next is pictures of my jewelry.
Jewelry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Woohoo!
So the process I use for jewelry is the lost wax casting method, which you could see here. I take the actual bugs. Some of them are ordered online and some are found by friends and family. And then you melt wax and you use wax rods and whatnot to build around the bug. And then you put it on a base like you see here, and from there you create a mold out of plaster, which then the bug and the wax are burnt out of that, and from there you can put silver in, and then you have jewelry after a lot of refinement. This is probably one of my favorite pieces for my senior thesis show. It was a little pincher bug that I got for Christmas, actually, and a very lovely citrine.
And then you got that little hoop that carries the chain.
And the detail's amazing.
So what's this?
This, while I was
Doesn't look like a bug.
Yeah, while I was doing my thesis work, just sitting around doing wax and bugs all the time is kind of tiring. So I worked with a process called reticulation. It's where you bounce a hot flame across a sheet of silver, and it brings the fine silver to the top. And it crinkles and it has craters, so that's the texture you see there. And the stone is fossilized coral, which are lovely, lovely stones, and I just used a fancy bezel wire.
And that's on both the upper piece and around the stone. I guess those are earrings.
Yeah. And this is just a compilation shot of a lot of my work.
Have you had anybody buy any?
Unique.
Yeah. Since I haven't been able to do much jewelry since after I graduated, because I don't have all the equipment ready, I've kind of been, my stock has been dwindling from what I made.
What's this here?
Oh, this was a piece that I made. The process I use, since it takes, it's a one-time deal. You make the object and you put it in the plaster, and you only have one shot at getting it right. Or sometimes it just doesn't work out. Like there's bubbles in the silver and it just comes out really wonky. This guy I was really excited about casting, and he turned out a little wrong. So I basically just had to remelt him down, and
So would you have to vibrate it to get the air pockets out?
Yeah, the first picture that had the base on it, that's a rubber base. You put a metal cylinder over that, you fill it with plaster, and you put it on a big old vibrating thing that forces all the air to the top, and then, yeah, that usually gets most of the problems out. This is actually the necklace I'm wearing right now.
It's so amazing.
That is the bracelet made from the first picture. Those actually came out well, so you could see like the before and after.
So each of these are different insects.
Yeah.
It's not the same one done over again.
Yeah, there are 3 separate insects. There is a way to do it with us. You make a silicone mold that you could then make more wax
With
figures.
the same concept.
Yeah, that's just equipment that I don't have yet.
So when you make the plaster cast, do you have to heat it up to get rid of the wax and the bug? And
Yeah, you put it in a kiln and you let it go overnight, and everything should fall out. And then you take, while the mold is still hot, fresh out of the kiln, you take that, you put it in the casting machine, and then you melt the silver, and it spins around, and centrifugal force forces the silver into where.
Oh, like the legs and different things.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
What a process. That's
It's really fun. Yeah.
So this is what's this like?
Oh, this is more reticulation work. Actually, Courtney was teaching me how to set stones, like with the prongs. So that's.
Okay.
I did a little bit of, well, I did a lot of work with her over the summer, and she taught me how to do that. And
That is very cool.
that piece is actually from where I cast, and we melted too much silver, and it overflowed into the, like around the metal cylinder.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was too pretty to pass up, so I polished it up and put some pearls on there, and yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes there's nice accidents.
Yeah.
Happy accidents.
Okay, so is there any other things that you are into Is it mostly casting insects, or is it the making jewelry?
Well, I really like the process of making jewelry. It's really fun, but I like working with the insects because you have something to start with. You have something that's really unique and interesting, and you can build off of it and make it your own, and while also still preserving the beauty that was there.
Nice.
You ever thought about, I don't know, making a monster bug or whatever? You take one, and then you might put horns on it, or do some extra things to it.
Frankenbug.
Yeah,
There
actually,
you go.
my jewelry professor, he did the same thing. He cast a lot of scorpions. That was kind of his thing. So when I wanted to do this, he was like pretty happy about that. But I've made some Frankenbugs, and we talked about that. I had a praying mantis that I put on top of a seed pod, so it looked like a really spiky ballerina praying mantis. It was weird, but
Gosh, I love that. We've had a rhinoceros beetle or something like that. Yes, with the yes. So if we find him again, he's yours.
okay.
I can figure out how to catch him.
Catch him.
That is so cool. And you also, what else you're interested in doing, and that you have your mad skills and talents?
Is it the photography in the darkroom?
Is it the painting?
Oh yeah, I've been doing paintings of bugs since I'm not able to do jewelry right now because I don't have the equipment. I've been kind of trying to transfer those interests over into painting. And
Do we have pictures of some of her paintings?
I don't
I don't think so.
They're on my website though.
Great. And your
What's
website?
your website?
My website is addisoncoldren.com.
Okay.
Easy to remember.
Now, is that some place that you just view your work, or can you buy things, or what?
I don't have a store set up yet, but hopefully eventually I will have that sometime soon. But if anybody's interested, shoot me an email.
Yes, and sometimes you might find her at the new Artisan Shop Studio Gallery Market. And some other projects you've been involved in, starting a new arts council.
Yep.
Yes. And what's the purpose? And it's called the...
The Convergence Arts Council. Yeah, Gallipolis doesn't have an arts council, and I felt we felt that was something that needed to be fixed. Just there's a void to be filled, and a lot of cooperation that we can promote between the different nonprofits and businesses in the town.
So more of an us and a we rather than an us and them. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still trying to get off the ground a little bit with that, so probably hear more about that later.
Yes. Well, we'll have you back on so you can talk more about that. And the other thing was you will be tinkering in, oh no, I'm going to forget the word. Curating at a new feature that we're going to have, as well as possibly other galleries, a curator job.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yes, so you can go and find different artists that do all kinds of amazing things and share them with our little world here.
Yep.
So maybe we can get them on our show too.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
So what's the next photography, if you want to call it, process?
Well,
this is something I'm into photography.
Yeah,
I have never heard about that.
It's pretty rare. It's getting a little bit popular in some fancy galleries in New York. It's called mordançage. I think it's a French process, but my photography professor is one of not even 5 professors who will teach that to undergrad students. It's a darkroom alternative process where you take the print. It's usually a photogram, which is just like an opaque object just flashed onto the photo paper, so it's just straight black and white usually. But it is a rather toxic chemical solution that you then put the paper into, and it lifts off.
So you develop it first.
Yeah, you develop it like usual, you fix it, you do all of that, and then you put it into this, after it's dry and everything, you put it into this solution, and it lifts off the top layer of the photo paper and creates these jellyfish-like veils. It's kind of hard to visualize. You can look at the pictures if you're ready for that.
Sure.
but that's what happens. That was a photogram of just a leaf with holes in it, and the black veils were actually a part of the photo paper, and they just lift off in the water, and you're able to control them a certain amount. But this process can lead to a lot of weird things, like color changes, where the photo was just black and white originally, but since
So
it's
what
so
we
toxic,
see around the outside, is that the photo paper?
yeah, that's the photo paper. So the black was the top layer. It was straight black when it was just a photo, and it lifts off and reveals like different chemicals underneath that turn silver. You could see if you like touch it, like you could see on the side where the veils like moved it. It just rubs it away. Yeah, you can get a lot of different effects on it depending on how long you put it in, how much you move it.
Is there much planning to this, or you just
No.
start and say, well, that's cool?
You try to work with what you got, which is why usually you come into the process with 10 of the same photo,
Okay.
and then you just try to get the best one.
Oh my goodness.
This one was just pine needles shoved up against a piece of glass, and then the veils just do what they do.
Oh my gosh.
Sort of looks like a Western.
Yeah, some people say Western, some people say like sci-fi. But they react in a lot of ways. One of the projects I did for that class was this process where, but instead of a photogram, I took photographs of textures in nature, and then I just developed, I flashed the rest of the photo so that everything except for the circle is black, and just try to manipulate the veils and the chemicals around just a circle of texture.
So what is this?
That was tree bark.
Okay, I thought it looked wood. But
Yeah, it's tree bark. There's actually, I think, maybe one more that uses the exact same photograph, but they all just turn really different.
That's so cool.
Is that the same?
Maybe, I don't know. The photos I took were just like dirt and bark and things that weren't really
Just a
recognizable.
texture.
Yeah, just a texture, something to see what the chemicals will do, how the veils will react.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's the same texture as the previous one.
That's interesting. And so what looks like it's hanging, like if it's the sun or something, what's hanging down was flat against the rest of the paper.
Yeah.
And then you move it so it looks like it's hanging down.
Yeah, and you can only really move it when it's in the water. If after you take it out, that's basically what you're left with.
It looks like a person. Or am I crazy?
And then
You're crazy. It's like a Rorschach
Thanks.
test.
That's
you
what I was
failed.
just gonna. I was just gonna say that some of these should be used in like therapy.
And this is like a space picture. One of the moons of
It's like
Saturn.
a shell on the beach. Just shell on the beach.
that's different. I don't think I've ever gotten that one before.
Of course. That looks like a person, like a cartoon person, sort of.
But
Neat.
yeah, I like this process because it's so random, and you just have to. It's a challenge to just like to work with what you have. But it takes some special. You have to wear gloves when you do it. You have to wear a mask. You have to have like a professional vent when you mix the chemicals together. So it's not something you can just
That sucks
do at
all
home.
the air out of the
Yeah.
whole situation.
And you can't do it for more than like 3 hours at a time because you'll get lightheaded. It's the ones with the bright colors and whatnot are ones that I didn't wash the chemical off of. So like regular darkroom photography, you wash the print and you fix it, and they just so that they stay stable after you're done. With these, they will continue to change if they're exposed to UV light. So
Oh my goodness.
So after you've got it into chemical, water, or whatever, and then you've lifted it off, then what do you do with it?
you let it dry. It dries really crinkly and
Okay.
ugly, and then you press it down. Like if you mount photos, you just press it in a heat thing. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, you just have to let it dry and it does its thing.
Is this the same thing?
Oh yeah, that's the same process. It was a photogram of a smashed flower.
Was it color, or did the
Nope.
color come out?
The color comes with the chemical, depending on how long you keep it in and how much you fix it, so that it doesn't react to light. Different colors can come out.
That's really interesting.
Oh,
I like
hope
that a
you
lot.
get to do that again. I'd love to see the process.
Oh, it's really fun, but yeah,
Yes,
it's a
wow.
possibility.
Yes, we'll get a video of it, and then we'll have you back on.
It looks really cool because you could just see the paper just like lift up, and it looks like jellyfish floating around.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you had a show at the REL not too long ago. Were one of those like jellyfish looking things?
Yeah, I had all of
thought
those
so.
there.
Yes, okay. That's awesome.
So if you want to see more of Allison's work, it's Addison. You got me messed up.
Ha!
AddisonColdren.com.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to see some more of that, and
Can't
maybe
wait.
come into the. You're gonna have some stuff at the artisan shop.
Probably.
studio?
Yeah.
Yes, please, please.
Okay.
That'd be amazing.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Been
me.
very interesting. Something a little bit off the beaten path, I think.
Yes. She's so cool.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month on Exposition.